Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and I figured I would show you about 4 or 5 days of food getting put up, just sort of little by little in a busy life. And there's one big project here, but anyway, I will talk a little bit at the end about what exactly was going on in the video itself. But for now, I figured I'd just kick on some music and hopefully give you a little bit of a relaxing time watching some stuff get done. I find videos like this very satisfying, and hopefully you will too. All right, let's get into it. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. hopefully you enjoyed the visual presentation of all of the food that I got put up over these last several days. I decided not to gum up that part of the video with text and to just talk at the end about what each thing was. So hopefully any questions you may have, I will be about to answer. But if I don't manage to answer them, then please obviously comment down below and I will get to that as soon as I can. The first thing I was dehydrating were grape leaves from my grapevines in my yard. I need to actually dehydrate quite a few. I wanted to get a big stock of grape leaves on hand before they all fall off when it gets cooler, but that's not going to happen until like December or January. But I still need to go ahead and start working on that now. But this batch was actually for my friend. Grape leaves can be used medicinally. They're great in teas. They're great as just part of a mix of greens, like a dehydrated greens mix to put on other things, but they can be used medicinally. They help with circulation and painful varicose veins, whether you take them internally or use them topically as a vinegar. At least this is, you know, the claims that are out there. I can't guarantee anything, obviously, but my friend wants to use them for that purpose. And we were talking and I just was like, well, I'll go pick you some grape leaves and dehydrate them for you. And she was like, oh yeah, I forgot you have grapevines. And so this batch is for her and hopefully that helps her. She wants them, I dehydrated them for her though, because she wants to turn them into a salve. And so hopefully it ends up working out well for her. The next thing that I dehydrated were almonds. I was actually organizing my shelves over here where I have my nuts, trying to like do a little bit of Tetrising to put some stuff in, and I found an old unopened 5-pound bag of organic almonds from Azure Standard that were about a month and a half past the best by date, and I freaked out a little bit, but I opened the bag, I tasted one, they were not rancid at all. However, I don't know if I can quite describe it correctly. When I put it in my mouth and I tasted it, I could kind of taste the oil, like it was beginning to separate, but like it hadn't gone rancid, if that makes sense. So in my book, The Ultimate Dehydrator Cookbook by Tammy Gangloff, which I can also link down below, she mentions that in the section on dehydrating nuts and seeds, that if you soak and then dehydrate your nuts, you can store them, quote unquote, long-term at room temperature. She doesn't give specifics on exactly what long-term means, but my hope was to extend the shelf life of those almonds. So I soaked them and dehydrated them and they came out absolutely perfectly. Perfect taste, no hint of that oiliness at all. And then I went ahead and dehydrated the newer almonds that I had already opened because I had forgotten about the old ones. And so those I also started soaking and dehydrating. Those are actually still in my dehydrator and I'll take those out. But the older almonds, of course, have now been moved to the front of the line. One of the great things about soaking and dehydrating nuts, and I don't know why I don't do it more often anyway, is that they get really crunchy. And so there was a little sound bite where I turned off the music and leaned in and let you hear the crunch of the almond, because they actually end up taking on something more like a roasted nut texture without having to go through the roasting process. So they still have all of their nutrition intact and the oils and the fats haven't been harmed by the high heat. And so that's a really great way to eat them and snack on them. They're actually completely delicious. The other thing that I have heard about nuts when you've soaked and dehydrated them is that they essentially become instant nuts for making your nut milks. I have not tried this yet myself, but apparently now that they're dehydrated, all I would have to do is take, a cup of nuts, throw in my 3 to 4 cups of water, blend it up, strain it, and I will have my nut milk without having to go through soaking the nuts in the beginning anymore. So that's actually really exciting to me. Again, I haven't tried that, but I thought I would mention that. And again, I don't know why I don't do this more often. It's actually very easy to soak and then dehydrate the nuts. There's virtually no hands-on time whatsoever. So I think moving forward, I'm going to be doing this quite a lot more, and I will definitely update you guys on what I find with making the nut milks from these pre-soaked and then dehydrated nuts and how it turns out. Next, obviously, were my peppers. So let me go ahead first and show you the fun part, which is the size reduction. We went from this entire big box to those 2 jars. That is always my favorite part, is the size reduction, going from that giant box to this. Now, granted, of course, there's a lot of airspace in peppers, but still, it's fun. So here we go. This is what I have now for my soups and instant pot recipes and curries. If I want to turn them into something that's more appropriate for an instant meal, I can kind of blitz them a little bit in my dedicated herb and spice grinder to get smaller pieces. They definitely won't rehydrate very well with just boiling water poured over, but if the pieces are very small, they'll do really well. So yeah, very happy to have all of that on hand. I won't have to buy peppers for recipes for quite a while. Next was my bananas. Because of the peppers, I ended up letting them go a little longer than I normally like to, but I did manage to get them all done. I didn't lose a single banana, so I had 2 batches of frozen bananas, and the second batch is in my freezer now, and I'll just take care of those today at some point. And then the stopping point that I picked, even though I'm not done, but I need to be done, you know, for this video, the stopping point was my garden peppers. And so these are hot peppers from my garden. There was 1 bell pepper in that little mix, like a small bell pepper in there. But I have mainly Anaheim chilies and cayenne peppers coming in hot from my garden right now. Ha 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 ha. That was not intentional. But anyway, they're coming in very fast right now. And so actually that little bamboo thing oftentimes becomes kind of my midway point between harvest and actually dealing with them. So some of them were a little shriveled already, maybe you noticed, but my climate is so dry that I can leave them sitting there and they'll just start drying in the air before I get them to the dehydrator. Or other times, if I have like a really big bunch, I will try to stop and go ahead and chop them all up and get them frozen. I also have a container of frozen hot peppers from my garden in my freezer. And I'm getting to the point where pretty soon, I don't think I'm gonna have to buy any more red chili flakes or cayenne pepper or any of that anymore. So that's kind of exciting. Every single time you start, you produce one more thing that you don't have to buy anymore. That's always a really exciting thing to have. So it's like slowly over time, there's several things I no longer have to buy at the store now, primarily herbs and spices and things, but those make a difference. Those can be pretty expensive. So anyway, that is what I managed to get done this last week. One of the craziest weeks I've had in recent memory. My son is in a Christmas production. He had 5 rehearsals last week on top of Sage's preschool, on top of my workouts and all of the things I have going on, and I still managed to get these things done, primarily because there's not a lot of hands-on time, although obviously with the peppers, that was a lot of hands-on time, but even that, I just did it over the course of 2 days, a little at a time, and I just managed to get it done. That was the only project I had planned for this week, but all of the other stuff kind of came up last minute. I realized how much I was going to be doing, and I thought, why not go ahead and get it on camera? So anyway, even when things are crazy, you know, just kind of a little at a time moving forward. And personally, you guys know how I feel about dehydration, and that's my favorite way to preserve things. But yeah, it's so fast. There's so little hands-on time. You don't have to do a lot of prep, and it's not stressful, and it doesn't require huge chunks of hands-on time. Typically, again, exception being the peppers, but that was just because of how much I was doing. But anyway, yeah, hopefully that was helpful. You got something out of that. Again, if you have questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you the next time. Well, I don't know, with another video, I'm sure, but another time I'm putting up a ton of food. I'm sure I'll be back with another one of these videos. As always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye.